So this is what happens under the hood of Bitcoin, so behind the scenes, so you know. First is the Bitcoin software creates the private key. When you first download the Bitcoin software, it randomly generates a 64-digit private key. That's a super long number. And this private key is used to create public keys. It can actually create multiple public keys, more than one. Public key creates address. So from one public key, you can derive or create an address. And in case, this is going to blow your mind, in case you were curious just how safe the security is of one of these numbers, like your bank account number or your password, if you think about kind of some comparisons, you now have an idea of Bitcoin, some of these Bitcoin numbers, because they're important, especially that private key. So you might be thinking, well, how secure is it? What if somebody guesses it? Fair question. I had the same question. So this is going to blow your mind. Consider this following chart. This is going to show you one of Bitcoin's brilliances and one of its magical aspects. Really, really huge numbers. And huge doesn't even begin to explain how big these are. Okay, so here we go. To put in context to how big these numbers are, if you were to add up all the grains of sand on all Earth's beaches and deserts, it would only be about 7.5 times 10 to the 18th power, or around, in this chart, the 70 bits mark. How about how many stars are in the observable universe? All those little white things and different colored things in the sky at night. You would only go up the next level, go down one more level to the 80 bits mark. So just take a second look at that chart. These are massive numbers. So those two marks, the 70 and the 80 bits mark, aren't even up to the halfway point of the number of Bitcoin private keys in existence because of how large those numbers are. Okay, so your mind's probably floored right now. Mine's been. So the takeaway from this is I want to make you aware of how the Bitcoin software produces a wallet and provides you with these three numbers: a private key, a public key, and an address. You never share the private key with anyone. You share the address with people that you want to send or receive Bitcoin. It's that simple. And just to kind of go back to talking about how when you store these numbers on an exchange, which is the most easy, I have my friends and family, my parents do that. Best practices would say if you store any large amount, and large is relative, use a hardware wallet. Okay, if there's smaller amounts or if you're transacting, you can use what's called a hot wallet, or it compares to a cold wallet. And I'll talk about hot and cold wallets in the best practices section. But when it comes to these exchanges, I've had to remove Bitcoin from multiple exchanges. I had Bitcoin on MT Gox. That was something in 2013, if you want to look that up, or if you remember it. It was an awful situation, but I got my Bitcoin off of there. I had to get my Bitcoin off of Cryptsy, which I think that they were investigated and they went to jail. And also I've had to get my Bitcoin off of Binance, which is one of the big ones, because of regulation changes in state and country laws. I've had to get my Bitcoin off of, or cryptocurrencies off of Livecoin. So those are four off the top of my head. I think even more, but those are four of the biggest ones that I've had to take my Bitcoin, my cryptocurrencies off of because something was happening. Now, again, I'm just warning you because I want to be honest with you. I still keep Bitcoin on Coinbase, and I recommend people do, but something could happen to Coinbase. That's what I'm trying to get at. Something could happen to Coinbase, and they know this. And so there's always going to be a risk. When I had a lot of Bitcoin, like 50, almost all of it was either in a paper or a hardware wallet, unless I was immediately about to sell or trade it, and then it was on an exchange. I still think overall Coinbase is really safe and probably the least likely to fail. Doesn't mean it won't though. Okay, so that was Bitcoin as a wallet/bank account. Okay, hopefully that clears up some things and fills in some gaps, and this will help you better understand the whole picture. The next one is Bitcoin as a network. Okay, so let's go to that.